Alright folks, I am Dom of X, comicreleases.com assistant editor. Let's take a look at the DC May 2025 solicitations. The first of these is of course none other than the continuation of the return of Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee properly to the Batman mythos. This is issue 160 of Hush. The gentleman's name is Silence, and his alliance with Hush will destroy Batman. Here is a look at the main cover by none other than Jim Lee, Scott Williams, and Alex Sinclair, and at the end you can also see that they have different variant covers for these as well. Here is the black and white, the 1 in 100, and here is this with the yellow text behind it, which is going to be a foil variant. Here is a look at the Frank Quietly cover, the mastermind himself. Here's a look at the David Nakayama variant cover. Here's a look at the Gabriel Del Auto connecting variant that will have a couple more in the set later to come. Lee Bermejo doing the classic Lee Bermejo type of art. And last but not least, Lee In-hyuk, or In-hyuk Lee I should say, for the 1 in 50. The Summer of Superman is here, and Dan Slott is officially joining the Superman office with Rafael Albuquerque in tow. Rafael Albuquerque, for those who don't know, was supposed to be on the Absolute Superman book with Jason Aaron, but instead this was changed due to his home flooding, from what I recall correctly. He is going to join again for the Superman Unlimited ongoing series, taking the DCU by storm when an asteroid the size of Metropolis hurtles towards collision with Earth. The Justice League dispatches Superman to avert the crisis, but a sinister threat lurks within that will change the world like never before, and this danger glows green. The last son of Krypton must risk everything to save his adopted home, the very home which now tries to kill him, from complete destruction. The Man of Steel is poised to fly like never before in this new Cornerstone series. So welcome back to DC, Dan Slott. Here is a look at the regular cover colored by Marcelo Maiolo. Here is a look at Lionel Francis Yu's cover of Superman. Man, I'm so happy that he's doing DC covers again. Next up, we do have this cover by Dave Raposa. Next up, we got The Good Man Knees. This is Gabriel Del Auto featuring Crypto. Next up, we got Frank Quietly back on Superman again. Everything is right in the world, I believe, when you have Frank Quietly drawing Superman again. Here is the gold foil cover by Micah Souza. And of course, this is one I did not expect. David Cornsweet and James Gunn being drawn by none other than Dan Mora in a variant cover. Here is a look at the bullets thrown at Superman with this 1 in 25. And then last but not least, here is a look at Christian Ward's variant cover. Say it ain't so. Supergirl returns in her own ongoing Back at It Again with a costume designed by Art Germ, or Stanley Lau, for those who otherwise do not know. Kara Zor-El is going to be written and drawn by Sophie Campbell, who was recently on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles right before it relaunched into Jason Aaron's run. Kara Zor-El has been a key member of the Superman family in Metropolis, but what happens when she strikes out on her own? Follow Kara as she returns to her roots in Midvale, the home of Supergirl. How can this be? Our hero has not been back in years, and the protector of that town has been saving the day for weeks. Can Supergirl stop the imposter before they steal her fresh start and life? Here's a look at the regular cover by Sophie Campbell. So again, she is drawing and writing this specific ongoing. Here is a look at Stanley Art Germ Lau's, or Art Germ, as you might know. Here is a look at his brand new design for Supergirl. Long-ish skirt. Got the return of the midriff, something that he also drew for some variant covers back during the Rebirth era of Supergirl. Here is a look at Joshua Middleton also making his somewhat of a return back to DC with this Supergirl cover. The next cover we have is a 1 in 50 by W. Scott Forbes. And last but not least, here is a 1 in 25 by Sugar and Spike favorite of mine, Bilquis Evely. The absolute Universe line of books is up next, with Marcos Martin continuing his guest arc fill-ins with Scott Snyder on this specific issue of Absolute Batman number 8. Batman is in the fight for his life against this icy new threat, but in the end, what terrifying truth will be unearthed about Arc M and the Joker? Here's a look at the variant cover by Marcos Martin with Vicente in on colors. Bruno Redondo does this specific variant for Absolute Batman issue number 8. Ramon Villalobos gets his shot here with Alfred in the background. And last but not least, we do have Yannick Paquette with Marcelo Maiolo on the colors for this specific cover. Absolute Superman issue number 7 with Carmine Di Giandomenico continuing in on the art, as his stolen alien technology is at the heart of Lazarus Corps' global success, but he operates out of a seedy lair packed with bottled cities he tortures relentlessly. Who is this mysterious brainiac, as we get a brand new look on the Mad Maniac himself? Here is a look at the cover by none other than Rafa Sandoval. Kelly Thompson and Hayden Sherman are back at it. Hayden Sherman back for the first time since issue number 5, as we did get the 2 fill-in origin issues drawn by Mattia de Ayulis, and little snippets here and there with Dustin Nguyen. On the 28th of May, we got the Tetracide playing a much greater threat than Wonder Woman had imagined on her first battle on the surface, but this was child play compared to negotiating the complexities and evils of man's world. What is Area 41 and the Black Box Maze? What is the greatest test, and what will shock you? Here is the cover to Absolute Wonder Woman issue number 8. Sanford Green gets his shot at doing an Absolute Wonder Woman cover. Next up, we do have Stephanie Hans on another Open to Order variant, and Meredith McLaren from her time over at Image with Kelly Thompson on Black Cloak gets to do her own 1 in 25 shown here. Next up, we got Absolute Martian Manhunter issue number 3 of 6 by Janice Camp and Javi Rodriguez. It's a trip through the psychosphere of Middleton as newly minted partners John Jones and the Martian follow the trail of whoever is responsible for the surprising and destructive behavior of people all across the city and the world. Here is the trippy cover by none other than Javi Rodriguez. Here is a look at the variant by Ian Bertram. Dan Panosian continues his Absolute line of variants. And last but not least, we got Riley Rossmo doing the weirdest and trippiest Absolute Martian Manhunter cover you can think of. Absolute Flash by Nick Robles and Jeff Lemire continues here as Wally is back up against the wall. Will the Rogues bear down on him, or will he evade the capture? Is he already at the finish line? Here is a cover by Nick Robles himself, of course, for the main. Here is a look at the cover by Heining. And then last but not least, Travis Moore getting their shine on the 1 in 25 incentive. An Absolute Green Lantern issue number 2. What is next for Abin Sur? What is the Evergreen? What is Joe Mullane and Hal Jordan doing here? This is going to be the main cover, once again, by Janoy Lindsay. Here is a look at the variant cover by Juliette. Here's a look at the 1 in 25 cover by Ryan Benjamin. And last but not least, here is a look at the cover by Juliet Necca. We are yesterday hits as Mark Waid continues his flashback towards time, intersecting World's Finest and Justice League Unlimited. Here is a look at the front cover with Dan Mora, with the Batman Who Laughs, and Perpetua also thrown in here. You got Ultraman, a lot of cool characters. You got the Pariah. Interesting stuff, Mark. I wonder what you are up to here. Next up, we do have a variant cover by Adrian Gutierrez. Here is a look at the variant cover by Lucio Parillo. And last but not least, A.L. Kaplan gets their own shine here with the 4th part of the We Are Yesterday event, as Gorilla Grodd continues his temporal onslaught upon the Justice League. And last but not least, for the Mark Waid line of books, we got Justice League Unlimited issue number 7. Yes, I will get to Batman and Robin when it comes due. Chaos ensues as Travis Moore draws issue number 7 of Justice League Unlimited with Mark Waid as the 5th part of We Are Yesterday hits in. As the attack intensifies, who will the hero be called for this specific one part. Here is a look at the regular cover by Dan Mora. Again, another interconnecting cover. Here is a look at the variant cover by Yannick Paquette with colors by Nathan Fairbairn this time. Next up, we do have a cover by A.G. Kerr. Next up is a cover by Tiago da Silva. Jorge Molina gets his own chance to draw a cover here. Next up, we do have a cover by none other than Cliff Chang for AAPI month. And last but not least, Travis Moore on a 1 in 25 for the incentive cover. All right, it's time for the Justice League line of books, and we're starting off with Mr. Terrific Year 1 by Al Letson, a TV award-winning writer of Monarch Legacy of Monsters, and Valentin Delandro, artist on Bitch Planet and Black Manta. Brilliant young inventor Michael Holt's life was designed for greatness, and yet everything screeched to a halt when his wife Paula and unborn son were killed in a car accident. So, due to the research with Darkseid and the events of the All-In special, there's a lot of links here that you might be into for this specific origin story. Here is a look at the regular cover by Valentin Delandro. Man, that looks super good. Next up, we do have a cover by Doc Shaner and Mitch Gerrard. So two specific covers there, and I find it interesting that they managed to both not swindle, but get the creative team on Strange Adventures in for both of these covers. I think that's pretty cool. Joshua Williamson continues his Superman run. There were rumors swirling that he was going to be off after issue 25 to be replaced by Dan Slott, but no, Joshua Williamson is back in full force, back on Superman, back better than ever. This time with Eddie Barrows continuing the part of the fill-ins as Dan Mora is temporarily off of the specific title with Aber Ferreira on inks. Eddie Barrows most recently again on the Lex issue, and as well as the Gail Simone Action Comics story for Superman Superstars initiative. Here is a look at the Red Kryptonite infected Superman with Dan Mora, of course, as the main cover artist. Here is a look at Gilliam March's variant cover with Lois Lane featured as Superwoman. Hopefully I'm not spoiling that for anybody watching this video. Next up we got Derek Chu with Lois Lane and Kara Zor-El. Next up we do have a variant cover by Mark Aspinall. Here is a look at the Super Mashup variant by Riley Rossmo. And last but not least, Clayton Henry in on the 1 in 25. Tom King couldn't stay away from Batman, and we're going to continue to see this here as Gilliam March continues to take over for this specific arc of Wonder Woman on issue number 21. As Batman gets closer to solving the case of Ares' murder, hopefully no one gets spoiled by this. Who or what will be uncovered by the truth? Here is a look at the regular cover by Daniel Sampere and Tomoyo Mori. David Nakayama getting his shot with the dynamic duo continuing his fair share of these variants. Next up, we do have another variant in by Chris Anka. This is a Super Smash Up variant with Wonder Woman wearing Superman's very own costume, or at least elements of it. It looks very Steel-like if you ask me. Gilliam March is going to be drawing this variant's cover with the Pantheon of the Gods, and the last but not least, Lucas Mayer in for the variant for this issue. The Atom Project, number 5 by Ryan Parrott and John Ridley with Mike Perkins in on the art as Captain Atom's battle with major forces left both Titans drained and vulnerable. What will happen on the 5th of this 6-issue parter? Let's go ahead and look at the main cover by Mark Perkins. Next up is a variant by Laura Braga. Here's a look at Cliff Chang's AAPI, Heritage Month. And last but not least, here is a look at the 1 in 25 cover by Namit Vilavia, who is already doing the main covers for New Gods by Ram V. Jeff Lemire and Rafael de la Torre. Hey, Rafael de la Torre, I love that guy's art. The Justice Society and the rest of the hero community mourn the loss of one of their own, but as the dirt settles, the JSA need to find a way to stop the IJS's plans. Here's a look at the variant cover by Jerry Ordway. This time Jorge Fornes is going to be doing the main cover. We don't have that cover yet, unfortunately. Next up here is a variant cover by Sweeney Boo. And last but not least, Todd Knock drawing the Our Man. Of course, you gotta have that all. Action Comics 1086 by G. Willow Wilson and Gavin Guidry with Brad Walker in for the main cover. With Superman on the ropes, Kilgore continues his fight against humanity. Find out In the thrilling finale of the Superman Superstars Initiative, we already know that Mark Waid is going to be returning to the title full-time after this, as if, I guess, there was anybody else to take this throne. Next up, we do have the main cover, again, by Brad Walker with Trish Mulvihill on the colors. Next up, we do have a cover in by David Talaski for the variant with Lois. Next up, we have a cover in by Cully Hamner. You've got a Cliff Chang, AAPI Heritage Month variant. And last but not least, Marcio Takara on the 1 in 25. John Timms and Jeremy Adams continuing Aquaman. I'd also like to say that Jeremy Adams is now a full-time DC writer, as he did recently sign a DC exclusive to continue to write what I suppose will be more Aquaman and will be more Green Lantern. Arthur's quest to save his people has hit a dead end, but together with the wizard Arion, he must channel the power of Thalassa, the Trilon Saber, to escape the dungeon barge descending into the blue. Here is a look at the main cover by John Timms. Here is a look at the variant cover by none other than Marcio Takara. Here is a look at the Super Smash Up variant by Danielle Di Nicuolo. Next up, we have a cover in by Marcio Takara. And last but not least, a 1 in 25 by Maria Focillo. Focillo something with the 1 in 25. Speaking of new gods, Nimit Malavi on the main cover as per usual. In the wake of the Nectari invasion of New Genesis, the Black Racer, speeding through deep space, must deliver his fallen comrade back to the source. Bear witness to a cosmos-spanning epic that examines the very nature of life, death, and everything in between, that reunites Felipe Andrade, the artist on Many Deaths of Layla Starr, along with Rare Flavors back together and Evan Cagle in secondary. Here's a look at the main cover by Nimit Milavia. For the variants, this is the one by Sebastian Fiumara, who is on Catwoman, or at least was partly on Catwoman, and Felipe Andrade here for the variant. I probably will be getting this one, just looks so good. If you want more Fire and Ice, look no further than Joanne Starr and Stephen Byrne continuing Fire and Ice. Freaky Friday. What's in Zatanna's hat? Here is a look at the Dodson cover. Dan Mora switching up some powers in between, and then Amy Reeder in for the variant. Secret Six number 3 by Nicole Manns and Steven Segovia looks as the deadly new Checkmate organization figures out the key to something. What is Club Classified? You got Deadshot, you got Dreamer, Catman to get up and get down with. Next up, we do have here is the main cover. Here is a look at the variant cover by Ariel Olivetti. And you got lyrics in with Catman looking pretty gnarly. You got Flash issue number 21 with Cy Sperrier and Vasco Georgiev. You got Wally continuing to split himself into more attempts as the battles keep raging on the moon under control. Eclipso reveals his new allies, the Rogues. You got this regular cover in with Mike Deodato's back to the regular cover set, even if Vasco Georgiev is still on the interiors. Here is a look at the variant by Elizabeth Torque. And here is a look at David Patore's variant cover for Flash 21. Green Arrow number 24 sees Montos and Chris Condon in the aftermath of the showdown at the site of the Freshwater Kills environmental disaster. Here's a look at the regular cover by none other than Torrin Clark. Here's a look at the cover in with lyrics. And last but not least, Cliff Chang with Connor Hawk and Zante Su from Spirit World. Green Lantern issue number 23 by Jeremy Adams and Zermanico. Got Hal plumbing into the depths of hell to retrieve material from a villain that can help the Lanterns build back the central power batteries. But hey, the Scepter says no, no, no. Here is a look at the regular cover by Zermanico. Here is a look at the cover by Carlos Donda and Mark Spears. So you got two covers going on there. Next up, we do have a Super Smash Up variant by Carkershal. And then last but not least, Mirko Kolak here on the variant for the 1 in 25. Green Lantern Corps also sees Jeremy Adams and Morgan Hampton continuing their run-in with V. Ken Marion on art this time and not Fernando Passarin. Guy Gardner is reluctantly saddled with a new partner, but hey, what is this fretting over with Simon Baz and Teen Lantern as they need to rebuild Oa? Here's a look at the regular cover by Fernando Passarin. Here is a look at the variant cover by Lucas Meyer, which actually looks pretty good. Next up, we do have one by John Boy Myers featuring Carol Ferris as the Star Sapphire. And last but not least, we got a 1 in 25 by Tom Rainey. Zatanna by Jamal Campbell. 4 out of 6, the outlook is grim, and after being dealt a devastating defeat at the hands of Lady White and Brother Knight, Zatanna struggles with her magic. No one else gets hurts of her. You got the Blue Devil missing. What's going on here, Jamal? Here is a look at the regular cover, again by Jamal Campbell. You got Ben Oliver and Miguel Mercado. This is the Miguel Mercado variant, and then here is the Ben Oliver variant. And last but not least, we do have Juliet NECA, who we already saw earlier with the Absolute Green Lantern variant, getting a 1 in 25 here. When there's trouble, Cyborg cannot be the one to be called because you've got Dr. Frankenstein up in this house. Here is a look at the regular cover in by Pete Woods. Here is a look at a variant cover by Tom Rainey. And then Otto Schmidt drawing Donna Troy, Coriander, and Rachel here on the third variant. And last but not least, we do have Metamorpho, the Element Man number 6, as the sun shines, as the malevolent mastermind of Cyclops is now ruling the earth and sky. What is he going to do? He's going to enter the Raw realm. Well, in this groovy Silver Age fashion and format, here's again a look at the regular cover by Steve Leuver and Rafael de la Torre drawing Metamorpho in one of my favorite books coming out in DC thus far. Batman, never leave me. We got Tom Taylor joined by Lee Garbey this time. Lee Garbey, who was previously on a lot of other books, but he is now going to be joining in replacement, temporarily anyways, for Mikkel Yannon. Here is a look at the regular cover by Mikkel Yannon. Here is a look at the variant cover by Aaron Campbell, who was most recently, as you may know, on Hellblazer Dead in America. Next up, we got a comic in from Chris Stevens, at least for the variants, and then Ashley Wood. It's a pretty nice, scratchy looking design. It reminds me a lot of Hayden Sherman and a little bit of Jeff Lemire. Nightwing issue 126, Francesco Francavilla continuing his interiors on this specific second arc of Nightwing. Has Bloodhaven's first corrupt police officer truly renewed, returned from the dead to strike down honest cops, or is there a sinister conspiracy in Commissioner Sawyer's department? Here is a look at the regular cover, again, by Dexter Soy. Again, Francesco Francavilla is going to fill in for this arc. Here is a look at the variant cover in by Jorge Fornes, the aforementioned Francesco Francavilla, and then the 1 in 25 by Vasco Georgiev. Catwoman issue number 76 sees Patricio Del Peche, who I find interesting because they were recently on Void Rivals, if I do not recall correct. So we're getting a lot of brand new artists in for Catwoman, which I think is pretty cool. Here you have a look at the regular cover by Sebastian Fiumara, who started off this run. Here's a look at the variant cover in by Frank Cho. Here's a look at In Hyuk Lee's cover by, of course, and then the last but not least, W. Scott Forbes for the 1 in 25. Run, run, run. Harley Quinn, number 51 by Elliot Kalan and Mirka Andolfo. So Mirka Andolfo getting a bit of a taste here with Harley Quinn. Here is a look at the regular cover by Elizabeth Tork. Nice to see Poison Ivy, Pamela on that too. That is nice. Here is a look at a variant cover by Nubovich, David Nakayama, and Gilliam March. This one specifically by Gilliam March, David Nakayama, and last but not least, Christian Ward. Poison Ivy, issue number 33, Marcia Takara and G. Willow Wilson. 33 issues. Ooh. What is the awful tragedy that is unfolding? Well, we see Pamela hit an all-time low. Here is a look at Jessica Fong's cover. Here's a look at Kyo-young Ilm's variant cover. Josh Swaby, or Sway as most of you may know him as. And then Kathy Kwan on the 1 in 25. Birds of Prey, Kelly Thompson, continuing the dramatic fashion of the birds deliberately scattered across the globe. Whatever will they do in that aspect? Here is a look at the regular cover by Annie Wu. Leo Romero, I miss you, but your neighborhood Spider-Man calls. Next up, we do have a design sort of type of variant by Rian Gonzalez with the suit design of Dinah Drake Lance. Here is a look at the cover in by Nimit Milavia, who we talked about earlier on New Gods. Cliff Chang with Katana and Damian Wayne. And then last but not least, the 1 in 25 by Lee Garbey. All right, here's a look at Batgirl issue number 7 by Tate Bromble with Isaac Goodhart. Isaac Goodhart, I love that guy's art. He did a Catwoman DC Ink book back 6 years ago. It has been that long, but I love that guy's art. I think he's going to be perfect for this type of storytelling on Tate Bromble's Batgirl. This is the second arc after Mother, so brand new arc for Cassandra Cain. Here's a look at the main cover by Reiko Murakami. Here's a look at the variant cover in by Isaac Goodhart, which is not finished yet, but I will probably be picking this one up. Here's a look at Dan Mora drawing Cassandra Cain, which is lovely. Batman and Robin, issue number 21. Philip Kennedy Johnson and Javi Fernandez continuing along their Memento storyline. The cultists are in on their own, and what will ever happen to the captured Damian. Here's a look at the variant cover by Danny Earls. I actually did not get a chance to look at the regular cover. The regular cover was not sent to us, but this is a look at Danny Earls' cover. Next up, we do have Juan Ferreira, and then last but not least, Marco Santucci. Marco Santucci, who most recently worked on Jeff Johns' Justice Society of America, the third time around, or second time, depending on who you talk to. Batman and Robin Year 1 by Chris Samnee and Mark Waid, the dynamic duo continuing their storyline. Here's a look at the regular cover. So good. Who is the Batman? Next up, we do have a cover in by Javi Rodriguez. Next up is one by Declan Shalvey. And last but not least, Ethan Young. And then the last two books for the Batman line, we got Two-Face, issue number 6 by Christian Ward and Fabio Vieira. Here's a look at the regular cover by Baldemar Rivas, and then another cover by Christian Ward. And then last but not least, we got Batman Dark Patterns by Hayden Sherman and Dan Waters. 6 of 12. It's really good. You guys should go pick this up. This reminds me a lot of Pinocchio. Here's a look at the regular cover by Hayden Sherman, and what they have been doing is just spectacular. And then another one by Ashley Wood. I do kind of like this art style. And then last but not least, for the ones that I will be highlighting here anyways, you can check out the rest again on comicreleases.com. Resurrection Man, Quantum Karma, the Black Label book by Ram V and Anand RK. Issue 2 of 6. Here is a look at the regular cover by Dekal, and then a variant cover by Philippe Andrade. If you haven't yet, check out our website, comicreleases.com, my and Webhead's love letter to comics, a hotspot where you can finally figure out what's coming out, when, from what place. Our unique upcoming website tracker in the Collected Editions tab makes sure that you're on top of every single collected edition coming out on the market, with release date updates to the minute, from the tiniest graphic novels to the giant Generator Deluxe hardcovers as large as an absolute. Our unique spreadsheet not only gives out the most accurate information out there, but our format also filters and ensure that you can find your books as quickly as possible. The tracker also gives out links to domestic and international retailers so that you can purchase your comic books at the snap of a finger. We are also proud to host monthly solicitations as per given by the publishers that generously send us information to give to you all. From the Ultimate Universe to the creator-loved Oceans and Universes, we specialize in giving you the most readable format of solicitations without any of the annoying advertisements. If you also donate to our Patreon at just $2 a month, which is less than a coffee at Starbucks, you will receive access to a special watch list dedicated to individually tracking items that are on your wish list, past or present. Place in your tracking number and make sure that these books also not only come in safe, you can even put in special comments on these as well. On top of that, your name will also show up at the end of every single Dom of X video creates as a huge thank you. That is comicreleases.com. For more information, check this out down in the description. If you also want to contact me or Webhead, check the contact forms down in the description, or email me down in the description. This was kind of a long solicitations video, but let me know in the comment section if you are excited to pick any of these up, and if you are excited to read any of these just as much as I am, be sure to look out for more on the channel. I'm Dom of X. You be you. Take care. Dominate the day wherever you go.